Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting for April 8th, 2024. It is 7:03 according to Apple, and we have quorum. So tonight on the agenda is Article 12 and Article 13.
So I'll just kind of give a brief introduction on, we'll start with 12. I previously talked to you folks about Article 12. What we are trying to do here is get some type of inclusionary zoning bylaw on the books. This has gone to town meeting 2 times in the past. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful. We've tried to really simplify this. It doesn't establish any trusts or keeps it only to apartments and condos. Anything over 6 basically requires the developer to create 10% affordable housing on that one. The thought process on this one is, quite honestly, I was driving by the old Leo's Pizza site about 6 months ago, and I got wind that they're not only developing that, but next to where the car wash used to be, that site, the developer owns all 3 or 4 sites in there. And I said, so for every 18 or 20 units this person develops, he's gonna build like 4, apartment buildings or something. We're just gonna lose them completely, our inventory and everything. And right now, we stand at almost 11% once you factor in Gilmore's and the Summer Street project. So that's just, I think it's 10.84%. So we're just barely over it once those projects come online. So the thought process here is just at least try to keep up with some of it. Patrick did a great job working on this. Town council did take a look at this. She had a few small changes, which I identified in the memo dated March 13th, updated April 1st. Minor, some of it's changing the word shall to, from will to shall, and does to shall. So I'll take any questions you may have. I have Patrick here.
Did we have town council on?
Amy Quessel is on the Zoom too, okay. So. Questions?
I've read through it, didn't have any significant questions. Go ahead, Lou.
How do you define affordability, AMI or?
Maybe stay up there, you're the only
Yeah,
one.
just stay there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I might as well. Affordability, so these would be local action units, which is a terminology that effectively falls under what would be a subsidized housing unit, so that's state's definition. But for the AMI, they're capped at 80% AMI.
Well, anything lower,
This one,
required or no, just it's up to developer or whatever?
yeah,
Is it deed is it permanent deed, part of the
Yes.
deed?
yeah, it'd be part of the deed.
Thank you.
Just bring your stuff
Stay,
up
yeah,
there.
I'll stay.
You're on the spotlight
All
tonight.
right.
Other questions?
I had a question, but I can't see it in the revised one, so I'm going back to my notes. And it had to do with, I guess, the planning board. I understand that the planning board's in charge of coming up with the rules and regulations and whatnot. There was just one that kind of struck me as just odd, is that I guess they're coming up with an approved marketing plan.
So,
Wasn't sure if that was like standard.
yeah,
It seemed odd.
I think they're more or less approving it. It would be up to the developer to make the proposal. The way it's written, it was taking from a town nearby. Mansfield had a similar bylaw, and so that was the language we kind of liked. Provide the planning board with a little bit of flexibility, working with the developer.
And then
Go right ahead.
I guess the next question was just, Jim, you had proposed different language that the planning board opted not to take up, and so I just wasn't sure if we could get an explanation of kind of why they may not have done that.
Sorry.
To take out the small administrative
The changes.
changes.
So as it was explained to me from the planning board chairs, they vote, they make a recommendation on the article.
So I think what you're asking, Doug, is what, hey, Amy, can you hear us? I think you're on mute.
I
Okay.
can.
So the question, Amy, is, and these changes we put in here as a result of some suggestions you had. You want to walk them through why we changed the shall, a couple of shalls, and we also changed the anti-segmentation section? You want to?
So I was going to say, so that was actually part of a few changes that I had recommended. The ones that were recommended by town council involved the removal of the affordable housing unit definition and the dwelling unit definition, only because we already defined those, and so we define them differently within our zoning. Town council had recommended the inclusion of anti-segmentation as a definition. And I believe, and town council also recommended under section 5J7, where it goes over timing of construction, recommended some changing into the wording of subsection A, or either move the table below subsection B. What I propose, I like changing the wording rather than moving the table, so that's why that is highlighted.
Where are you now? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, section 7.
Page 4. Section 7, timing.
Timing of, okay.
Yeah.
You said section 5, so it was in the.
Yeah, and so there was a few changes that I had recommended, which was under applicability, where Jim mentioned changing does to shall. I also just changed the language from, it references age-qualified villages, but we may have, there's an affordability component of the next bylaw, the next article that we're talking about, MBTA, so I'd rather have that, I had more of a generalized explanation that this bylaw does not conflict with development-specific affordability requirements. So age-qualified villages is something we already require affordability for, but it has its own metrics in place. And so MBTA also has the same one.
And then Amy, this,
Yes,
his recommended changes, you reviewed as well and agree with?
I did. Yes.
Oh,
And hear I can see the yes, but,
I think our audio is working.
give me a thumbs up, just so we couldn't hear you. Perfect.
Sorry about that. I'm not muted.
We can't hear her.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
If there are no
I'm gonna
other
leave
questions
that.
on Article 12,
So I'd like to move to accept these changes, and however we phrase this motion. How would you like me to phrase it?
it would be a motion for Article 12 with changes as from council per the memo dated 3/13 and updated on 4/1/2024.
So moved.
Give a second. Mark? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Seeing none, that passes. And how many? I didn't do the count. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Who seconded?
Mark. 10. Perfect.
Okay, next one up is Article 13, which is the inclusionary zoning bylaw. This one, I forgot to mention, the previous one had passed planning board. This one received a favorable action from planning board 212. And again, council had suggested some changes, which are highlighted in yellow with the deletion struck through on this. And we've been talking about this for some time now, so with that, Patrick and I can kind of take on any questions. We have Judy Bear, who helped work through the steering committee with this, and Amy Questle to answer questions.
So this is the state, just as a refresher, right? This is the one the state is driving, and if you don't pass it, the state is looking to take away certain funding.
And sue you,
So-
the town, not you personally.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's in our interest to pass this. So that would be my interpretation of the state's recommendation. With that, I'll turn it over to anyone for questions. Larry?
Do any of the properties now, like the apartments downtown or anything, already count toward that metric?
So they don't, because the way this is written is it's a zoning mandate only. So what we're proposing, it's looking at a defined location if nothing was built. So you have to kind of envision that area. If nothing was built, what is that capacity number? So it's not concerned about what will be built or what could be built or what is existing. It's only just trying to have that unit capacity number factored into your zoning. So it's more or less, it's a theoretical build out based upon the zoning. So it's not concerned about existing units.
Commercial property now, and you're saying nothing's built, in other words, no housing. In other words, if it's a car wash or whatever, that that's, there's something on it, but there's a building, commercial, whatever, store, whatever it might be, but it now can be redeveloped into a apartment complex or apartment building. Is that where
So
it falls in?
In a sense, yes, so we can't control development in the sense that if a property owner doesn't want to develop, they can't develop. The location that we did choose, though, we picked it for a reason. It meets the criteria that the state established in terms of district size, which is above 50 acres. The location is all within a half mile of of the Walpole station. But the underlying zoning itself is already allows for mixed use by right. So the underlying zoning, the predominant underlying zoning for the overlay district is central business district. I would say that makes up at least 75-80% of what the overlay covers. So we picked that mostly because the existing characteristics of that area fit what this overlay district was proposing.
Thank you.
I got questions with regards to the map, where it actually shows the train station, but there's nothing west of the train station that's being included in the zoning district. Is it that as long as the station is within the zoning district, we can pick a central point and work from that central point?
So the train station itself
It has to be the center point.
does not need to be the center point, no.
It just has to be in the district to count.
Correct, it needs to be within a half mile of that center point, or I guess that point of where the train station is. To answer your question, the railroad almost acts like a natural barrier, plus that other side of the tracks is all zoned industrial with, predominantly wetlands. It didn't fit.
Okay, thanks.
I was able to watch some of the hearings online. I thought you did a really good job about structuring this to align with what the state requires of us, as well as including the fact that the location needs to be where families can live, so not in an industrial zone or a wetland, and also in line with what's already going on there. And I think that just helping people at town meeting understand that building is happening in Walpole, and this doesn't increase the amount of building just by passing passing a zoning bylaw doesn't mean that the town's saying build anything you want. In fact, this is more restrictive than the zoning that's already going on in the central business district, right? And I think it's helped understand that there's a misconception that the town denying this will stop the development of Walpole, and it won't. In fact, it will just, if building does happen, it will increase the affordability and keep us on pace with our subsidized housing inventory with that 10% requirement. So it's really smart what you're doing here, so thank you for that. And I also, I appreciate that we're cognizant of the need for affordable housing near local transit as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Pat, my question is, I take exception to the 80% affordability, because it's 80% of whatever, hypothetically, if it's 800,000, it's 80% of that. The average person, fireman, teacher, whatever, can't afford that. So it seems kind of like an oxymoron to me.
Well, the 80% AMI is that is what classifies as by right affordable under the state's guidelines. So we went with 10% at 80% AMI because anything above that would require an economic feasibility analysis through a third-party, consultant to prove to the state that if we were to increase the affordability percentage beyond 10%, that it would be economically feasible. So the steering committee and I, when we looked at it, we went with the route of just going with what the state allowed us to do, which was 10% at 80% AMI, just for trying to have it done cleanly and trying to, if we need to come back and think about it in the future, we certainly could, but we just went with what they allowed us to do.
I appreciate the constrictions you were under, but I find it a fallacy for the reality of what is actually going on, that we do need affordable housing. We need senior housing. This is not addressing, really, either of those for the people that are definitely in need. And as a result of that, I'm voting against it. And I know the ramifications that, all of this and that. I really feel our legislature the whole compound of it, let us down, let the state down, because they didn't do their job as far as preventing, penalizing the communities that vote against this, because we all have, each community has their own needs. And the people that run the community in general, not picking any community in specific out, they know what their needs are, as opposed to the state coming in and mandating, you will do this ABC. That's it. I'm voting against it, and I understand what you've been through. Like Audrey, I have also been watching on YouTube your presentations, and you've done a good job. Kudos with what Audrey said in that regards. But maybe it's my age. I just feel that there are too many people that are needy, that this isn't even coming close to satisfying the true needs of any given community in this state. Thank you.
So I would agree with you, but I think that's more of a state problem with the 80% AMI than it is for the zoning bylaw. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, this doesn't foreclose a 40B with 25% affordable or a 60% AMI or a developer to come in and do that. And it also doesn't prevent Section 8 vouchers for market rate units for people who need more affordable units, right?
No, that's correct. I mean, we can't control Section 8, and then in terms of 40B, I like to think we're closer to 10%, but at the same time, this wouldn't have any impact on that.
Okay.
And that's kind of a floating number, the 10%, because it's going by our census. And our census was taken during COVID. So hypothetically, I think our numbers are higher than what they were. And it seems like every time they do a census, we're going to have to, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to have to keep increasing this 10% to match the increase in our population. So it's a floating number depending upon the time frame that it's dealing with.
No, that's absolutely right, and that kind of goes back to the previous bylaw that you voted on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
So, Patrick,
Seeing
I'm not
none,
sure if you
is
guys
there
can
a
hear me.
Motion for favorable action?
I think the attorney was trying to speak.
Oh, someone up top?
I just
Go
had a
ahead,
quick comment.
Yep, go, we got you, go right
Heard you
ahead.
that time.
Oh, great, sorry. I logged off and logged back on. Sometimes that works. So I did just have a quick comment on the last comments, which is that the AMI, the 80% AMI is a number based on AMI, not just of Walpole, but surrounding areas. It is the 80% income limit for Walpole for one person is 86,000. For four people, it would be 122,000. So those are the numbers that we're looking at when we're looking at 80% AMI. And then the other thing that I did just want to point out quickly is that the census, while I agree 100%, it's a kind of a floating number. It's a number we're always trying to catch. The census is every 10 years. So right now we are secure in our number, and until the 2030 census comes out. So it is a number that moves definitely, but it's not a number that moves every year.
Thank you.
Realize that. Thank you.
And to clear, for people listening, it's 30% of an income that makes that as the total amount of housing costs. So it's that income, the housing is no more than 30% of that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
But can I make a motion?
Go right ahead,
Too early.
go for it.
Can I make a motion to approve Article 13 with the changes as highlighted in the March 13th memo updated April 5th, 2024?
Perfect, do we have a second?
Second.
Kathleen? So let me just note that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. So 910. And that is the articles for the Springtown meeting.
Those are all.
Anything else, Jim? I've got
No.
some minutes from the Fall Town meeting that I've been deficient in bringing to everyone.
So just our next meeting's public hearing. That's gonna, Patrick and I were just talking, it's gonna be May 2nd,
Okay.
yeah,
The
7 PM.
the booklets have been.
They're out at the
printed.
publisher, and what else? The packets, the packet materials are being developed now, so.
I did put into the note, my note, looking for people to volunteer for the finance committee, so.
And your names are all in the.
And the names are on there, yeah. Not getting yelled at again.
That could be good or bad. I don't want to
Can
be
I
on.
ask a
committee with
question?
Yeah.
On Article 12, with the changes that were made, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, is that once the article is printed, we cannot change anything until town meeting.
No.
It's
So,
not, this is,
there
whatever's
was-
coming out
I had a
right now
feeling
is
that-
not going to have these adjustments.
So prior to the public hearing for the planning board, we presented some of these changes to the planning board for both articles. We also provided them with a legal opinion saying that you can make these changes if you determine you would like to. They didn't want to do that for whatever reason, but you make the main motion, this committee. So the main motion that you just voted on will reflect the changes. We'll actually, we're going to include the motions in the packet so Dan can refer to it. And as Dan always does, he sends the motions out to town meeting members before, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Otherwise, we have meeting minutes from the fall. I've got August 28th.
Patrick?
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Amy, we're all set.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
September
Judith.
7th.
Good night.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much.
September
night.
11th, September 14th, and October 12th. I put them on to Microsoft online, so anyone could make edits and redline and changes. When I'm looking here on the meeting minutes for the 28th, there were no changes made by anyone. Are there any changes anyone has? If not, we have a motion for
Motion to accept?
accept the changes, seconded by Kathleen.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? 10-0-0. So the 28th is good. September 7th, again, no red line changes. Yeah, any comments from anyone on those? If not, we get a Kathleen
Motion to accept the minutes from 9/7.
Second?
and Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have the meeting minutes from September 11th. Again, no changes on here. Have a motion?
Motion to accept?
From Mark, seconded by Doug. All in favor? I forgot the vote. Opposed? Abstained? Seeing none? 10-0-0. Meeting minutes from September 14th. Again, no changes on here.
Motion to accept the minutes of September 14th.
Second.
Seconded by Josette. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
Abstained Kathleen. And
So
then
it's 901.
901, yep. And then we have the meeting minutes from October 12th. I had added a comment, but I don't think the comment was from, something from Lisa. She had emailed me on, but it was about Jack Kilroy's. Anyhow, she and I reviewed it and agreed that it didn't need to be stated in the minutes, because it was just relating what was exactly there. So I don't see any other changes, so
Motion to accept?
Second?
all in favor? Great, our minutes are done for last fall.
I abstained from that, too.
Oh, you abstained, sorry, I forgot to,
901.
I got cocky there. Sorry. So our minutes from the fall are done, and I'll work on seeing if we can get minutes from the spring and try to vote on those in the springtime. Is there anything else that anyone has? There's none?
Jim, is there any update from the state on the budget as to where towns may or may not be hitting or missing revenue?
All looking good. The governor instituted some hiring freezes, and I've read another article last week that it's too little too late. And I'm really happy we didn't go with our numbers. So our numbers were level funded, and in fact, we reduced two items that were charged. Well, I forget which one, but like, one of them might have been charter school reimbursement, and the other one might have been MBTA assessment or something. We bumped those two up a little bit, so we didn't take their full numbers, so I'm pleased, I'm really happy we didn't do that, so.
So no
It's not looking
surprises
good at
for
the
us.
state level.
Dan?
Yeah.
It is, I know the state's not calling it a hiring freeze, whatever they're calling it. Is Walpole also in that boat, or status quo?
On the towns, I can only speak, I know on the school side, that is not the case. On the town side, I'm very cautious about what positions we fill. There's three on the DPW side that come to mind that we've had open for some time. I'm pleased to tell you that looks like we finally reached a deal with the DPW. Unfortunately, that was too late on it was too far along in the budget cycle, or the cycle for town meeting, so that'll be considered in the fall. But if it's a position that we absolutely need, like right now, assistant town clerk's open, that one we'll have to fill. But if it's something that we can do without for now, let's see how things go. We're not gonna bother filling it for the time being.
Anything else? Anyone want to put a motion to adjourn? There we go.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? We're good. We're done.
Great.
Thank you, everyone, for a good
Just
spring.
do that, just-
Hello, everyone.